Hello everyone and welcome to my Soap Twist 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Luna sat on a cracked leather stool in the diner, her fingertips tracing the rim of a damaged coffee mug. The neon sign outside flickered, casting a reddish tint across her face and highlighting the thin wrinkles of tiredness around her eyes. Los Angeles promised hopes, but delivered heartbreak, and Luna had experienced both. She'd arrived here 3 years ago, chasing the spotlight with her guitar draped over her shoulder and a notepad full of lyrics. The guitar was already gathering dust in her small flat, and the notepad was buried beneath overdue bills. The cafe was almost empty, save for the hum of the jukebox in the corner, which was playing an old Springsteen song about getting away. Luna hardly noticed it. Her work had ended an hour ago, but she lingered in her Echo Park studio apartment, unwilling to face the silence. The city's pulse felt like a taunt now, its never-ending lights mocking her halted dreams. She was 27, but she felt older, worn down by unsuccessful auditions and a manager who promised her the world only to disappear with her cash. The bell above the door jingled sharply and unexpectedly, jolting her out of her thoughts. She didn't glance up at first, probably just another late-night regular, but suddenly a low and familiar voice pierced the air like a sword. Luna. Her breath caught. She recognized the voice, gravelly and warm, like whiskey poured over flames. Slowly, she lifted her gaze, and there he was, RJ, standing in the doorway, his silhouette illuminated by the streetlights. He looked the same, but different. The leather jacket was new, the scruff on his jaw was a little thicker, but those piercing green eyes remained unchanged. They locked into hers with such force that her gut twisted. RJ, she whispered, scarcely rising above a whisper. She hadn't seen him in 2 years, since he left town without saying anything, slipping into the night like a rock and roll ghost. They were once inseparable. Two dreamers forging out a life in the craziness of Los Angeles, creating music together, stealing kisses in dive bars, and envisioning an invincible future. Until he broke her heart. "What are you doing here?" she inquired, clutching the mug closer, as if it could anchor her. He moved closer, his boots scuffing the linoleum floor. "I'm back," he stated simply, as if that clarified everything. His voice exuded the same reckless confidence that had once convinced her they could conquer the world. "And I'm not staying," Luna's heart sputtered. "What is that supposed to mean?" RJ leaned against the counter, close enough for her to smell the subtle leather and cigarette smoke on him. "It implies I am done with the city, Luna. It is a black hole. It sucks up people like us and spits out their bones. I'm leaving, and I want you to join me." Her breath caught. "Do you want to leave LA with me?" The phrases seemed strange, like if they belonged to someone else's life. "You show up after 2 years with no contact or text and you expect me to do what? Pack a backpack and follow you?" His eyes softened, but there was a burning behind them, a desperation she had never witnessed before. "I am aware that I made a mistake, Luna. I know I harmed you, but I've been out there chasing ghosts and all I can think about is you. This place is killing you. I can see it. You're not the girl I left." The words hurt, mostly because they were true. She wasn't the same girl anymore. The Luna he'd known had been brave, her voice screaming out in smoky theaters, her laughter filling the gaps between notes. She was now a shadow, pouring people coffee and singing quietly in the shower. "Why now?" she asked, her voice shaking. "Why return at all?" RJ ran his hand through his dark hair, the move too familiar. "Because I was wrong to abandon you. I thought I needed to find myself and make it huge on my own. But all I could find were empty stages and nights. I'm heading north, Luna. Oregon, maybe. Somewhere calm, where we may start over. Compose music again. Be us again." Luna felt her chest constrict as the jukebox played a slow, sorrowful ballad. She wanted to yell at him, toss his coffee mug, and demand him to leave. He'd abandoned her before, leaving her to drown in the city's tumult. But the way he stared at her, as if she were the only thing that mattered, triggered something deep within her. something she believed she had buried. I can't just leave, she replied, shaking her head. I have a job and a life here, a life. RJ's voice was sweet yet sharp. Luna, you are surviving, not living. This city has taken everything from you. Your music is your spark. I see it in your eyes. You're fading. She wanted to fight, to tell him he was mistaken, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, she stood and brushed past him to retrieve her jacket from the rack near the door. I need air, she muttered, pushing into the cool night. The street was filled with LA's regular chaos, car horns, distant sirens, and the buzz of people overflowing from bars. RJ pursued her, his presence a weight she couldn't bear. She came to a halt at the edge of the sidewalk, her gaze drawn to the city skyline, its gleaming towers a painful reminder of unfulfilled hopes. Remember the night on the roof? RJ murmured, standing beside her. We stayed awake till dawn, creating that song about fleeing away together. You said you'd go anywhere with me. Luna's throat clenched. She remembered vividly that night, the way the city felt alive under them, the way RJ's voice sounded like hers as they scrawled songs on a napkin. They had been so sure of themselves and each other. That was a long time ago, she explained, her voice shaking. You've departed, RJ. You did not even say goodbye. I waited for you. I thought something had happened to you. Do you understand what that did to me? He flinched, and for the first time, she noticed shame in his eyes. I know I don't deserve your trust, he told you. I was afraid, Luna. I am afraid of disappointing you, of not being enough. I figured if I made it large, I'd be worthy of you. But I was mistaken. I am not in need of fame. I need you. His words broke her heart, but they couldn't change the past. She turned to face him, her gaze searching his. What happens if you get scared again? When the calm life in Oregon isn't enough, do you leave to pursue another dream? What will happen to me then? He moved closer, his hand going for hers, but she backed away. I'm not that guy anymore, he explained. I have seen what is out there, and it is nothing without you. I'm asking for the opportunity to prove it. Leave LA with me. Let us start afresh together. Luna looked aside, her gaze drawn to the city lights. She remembered her apartment, the stack of bills, and the guitar she hadn't touched in months. She recalled the auditions, the rejections, and the nights she sobbed herself to sleep. LA had promised her everything and delivered nothing. But RJ, he'd been everything to her once, but not anymore. I need time, she finally whispered, barely audible above the city bustle. I can't just decide this now. RJ nodded, his countenance a mix of optimism and worry. I am staying at the Sunset Motel. I will wait, Luna. As long as it takes. She did not answer, instead turning and walking away, the weight of his words crushing against her chest. The city felt louder now, its chaos blotting out the glimmer of hope that RJ's homecoming had brought. She walked for hours, through neon-lit streets and silent alleys, struggling with the decision before her. Days passed and Luna avoided the diner, calling in ill to avoid meeting RJ again. But his words troubled her. She found herself bringing out her guitar one night and strumming the chords to the song they'd composed together. The music felt alive again, like if a piece of her soul had been released. She despised him because he reminded her of who she once was. On the fourth day, she visited the motel. The neon sign buzzed slightly as she knocked on his door. RJ opened it, his face lit up with relief and apprehension. I'm not saying yes, Luna replied before he could speak. But I am not saying no either. I need to know whether this is true, RJ. That you won't disappear again. He nodded, his gaze unwavering. I will prove it, Luna. Every day if you let me. She wasn't sure whether she could trust him, but for the first time in years, she felt something stirring inside her. Fragile, timid hope. Perhaps LA wasn't her home anymore. Perhaps RJ was. Or maybe she was simply bored of being alone. They spoke till daybreak about the past, the future, and the music they'd left behind. When the sun rose and painted the sky pink and gold, Luna made her decision. She wasn't sure if it was the correct one, but it was hers. I'll go, she replied, her voice firm. But if you break my heart again, RJ, I swear I'll never forgive you. He smiled sadly, making her heart ache. I won't, he replied. I promise. They left LA that morning, her instrument in the back seat of his beat-up van, and the city faded in the rearview mirror. Luna had no idea what would happen next, whether they'd find serenity in Oregon or crash and burn like previously. But when the road stretched out in front of them, she felt alive for the first time in years. The story proceeded for 5,000 words, weaving over their voyage north, the small places they visited, and the songs they wrote under the stars. It delves into Luna's battle to trust again, RJ's quest to prove himself, and the fragile beauty of second chances. Their love was bold and beautiful, but it was also fragile, tainted by the agony of the past and the unknown of the future. Every mile they drove brought them closer to redemption, or ruin. The rain began early that morning in Los Angeles, transforming the city's customary gleam into something muted and gloomy. Luna stood at her little apartment's large glass window, marveling at the indistinct silhouette of the Hollywood Hills through the mist. Her tea had long since cooled in her hands. She'd been awake since before dawn, her heart racing and her mind circling the same agony that wouldn't go away. RJ had been away for months. At first, she believed it was just a lull in a story that had been too bright, too rapid, and too much like a dream. He had vowed to call, visit, and make things work, and she knew he had tried. But distance was harsh. Calls became shorter, messages became colder, and suddenly there was nothing but stillness where there had once been laughing. She told herself she was all right. She poured herself into work at the Forrester offices, assisting with new designs, smiling when necessary, and pretending that the empty space behind her was not as large as it appeared. But every night, when she turned off the lights, she could still hear his voice, sweet, honest, and full of that childish earnestness that had always troubled her. I won't let you go, Luna. Never. Then he did. It was mid-afternoon when the knock arrived. Sharp, sudden, the kind that jolts the silence out of the room. Luna paused, frowning. She was not expecting anyone. She crossed the little living room, barefoot and cautious. When she opened the door, time paused. RJ stood there, drenched and breathless, her eyes filled with something she couldn't identify. He appeared identical while also being quite different. Older, heavier with unspoken words. Luna, he said, his voice trembling at her name. She froze. For a moment, neither of them moved. Raindrops dropped from his jacket onto the floor. His chest rose and fell quickly, as if he'd run all the way there. RJ, she whispered. He nodded, his lips twitching in a half-smile that barely reached his eyes. Yeah. It's me. She blinked, trying to catch up with reality. What are you doing here? He swallowed hard. Luna's heart stumbled as she said, I needed to see you. After all this time? I know, he replied swiftly. I realize it's been... God, I know. I botched up. I should have called and came sooner. But I am here now, and I need you to listen. She crossed her arms, attempting to keep her cool. Hi, RJ. It's been months. You departed without saying goodbye. You didn't even. I couldn't, he said, moving closer. Do you think I wanted to leave you? I did not. But everything became complicated. My family, the business, and my father all required my assistance. I kept telling myself it was only temporary and that I'd return once things settled down. However, they never did. And all I could think about every night was you. She wanted to trust him. The agony in his voice caused her chest to constrict. But she also remembered the evenings when she grieved alone, waiting for a message that never arrived. Why now? She asked gently. He took a deep breath, his hair still shimmering from the rain. Because I can't do it anymore. I can't pretend I'm fine without you. I came back because I want you to leave LA with me. Her breath caught. What? Leave with me, he repeated again, more urgently this time. Tonight. I have everything ready. I cannot stay here. Not in this city, not in that house, and not with people who constantly dragging me away from who I truly am. I need a fresh start. And I need you to join me. Luna shook her head, astonished. RJ, you can't just show up and… I can, he answered, interrupting her. I love you. I always have. You know that, she said, staring at him. The words hung between them, weighty and shaking. Love. It used to be their language, whispered between kisses, painted into paintings he did of her in the studio, quietly uttered in the dark. However, love was also the source of their breakup. Her voice faltered as she began. RJ. Please, he asked. We will go any place. San Francisco, Paris, or Tokyo, I don't care. I simply cannot lose you again. Her hands trembled as she groped for the back of a chair. You don't understand, she muttered. I've constructed something here. My work, my friends. I finally stopped waiting for you. He flinched. Did you stop waiting? What were your expectations? She exclaimed, her voice breaking. You've disappeared. You made promises, then disappeared into your world. I needed to find a way to live again. RJ took a step forward. Come live with me immediately. Start anew. Tears welled up in the corners of her eyes. It's not that simple. It is, he insisted. It has always been simple. It's just me and you. She shook her head. No, RJ. It has never been straightforward. Not for us. Silence fell. The rain outside grew heavier, beating against the glass. RJ's jaw stiffened, and his eyes glistened. He gazed around the flat, noting the sketches on the wall, the subtle smell of lavender, and the evidence of a life constructed without him. You have moved on, he replied softly. She didn't respond. He gave a hesitant nod, his throat straining. Is there anyone else? Luna hesitated. There was, but it didn't last. RJ exhaled, something between relief and despair. Then there's still a chance. She looked him in the eyes. No, RJ. There are simply memories. He turned aside, his hands trembling. You said once that I was home for you. I did, she admitted. But then home left. The words cut through him. He turned and stared out at the rain. For a minute, he said nothing and stood there, shoulders quivering with the weight of what remained unsaid. He finally said, I thought if I came back, I could fix it. Luna's tears streamed down. Some things cannot be rectified. They can only be remembered. RJ returned her gaze, his face drenched from either rain or tears. Is that it? After everything, where were we? She swallowed hard. RJ, we were lovely. But beautiful things don't always last. He moved closer, until they were barely inches apart. I can't accept that. You have to. He stretched out to touch her cheek, shivering with hesitation. You still feel it, he mumbled. Don't tell me you don't. Her lips parted, and her body revealed the tempest within her. She did feel it, that electric pull, that aching that had never totally gone away. But love wasn't enough anymore. Not when it arrived wrapped in absence. I'll always love you, she murmured as her voice broke. But love isn't a reason to leave everything behind. He slowly dropped his hand, his eyes hollowing. Then what do I do now? Go home, she whispered softly. Find peace. Perhaps one day we'll meet again, when we're both ready. RJ stood immobile, the weight of her words sinking into him like rain on earth. I thought you were my peace, he explained. You were mine once, she said. For a long time neither spoke. The city buzzed slightly in the background, with the sounds of traffic and rain blending into something unsettling. RJ eventually turned towards the door. His hand remained on the knob. If I walk out now, he murmured softly, I don't think I'll ever come back. Luna's tears streamed down. Then this is goodbye. He slowly nodded. Goodbye, Luna. And then he was gone. The door closed behind him with a quiet click, a sound that would reverberate in her mind for years. Luna remained there, staring at the empty space he had left behind, her heart shattering softly, not with noise but with the profound, silent anguish of something final. RJ stood outside in the rain, looking up at her window for the last time. He wanted to run back, knock again, and beg, but he knew that part of their narrative was already over. He strolled along the street, the city swallowing him up, the rain washing away everything save the tiny remnant of her perfume, which clung to his jacket. Days went into weeks. RJ returned to his family, poured himself into work, and pretended that things was progressing. But every image he created included her shadow, the curve of her grin, the warmth of her touch, the anguish in her goodbye. Luna kept going as well. She worked harder than ever, smiled when others asked about him, and pretended everything was okay. But at night, when the rain came again, she glanced out that same window, half expecting to see him standing there again, soaking and quivering, whispering, "Leave LA with me." He never did. Years later, Luna traveled to Paris for a fashion presentation. She had built a name for herself, strong, stylish, and self-made. She was walking through the bustling backstage area, intent on her work, when a familiar laugh halted her in her tracks. She turned. RJ stood across the room, talking to another designer, his hair slightly longer and his smile calmer. Their gazes met. For a heartbeat, the years vanished. There was still love there, but it was softer now, having developed with distance and time. He nodded once. She smiled slightly. No words were required. They both understood. Some love tales never end. They simply learned to exist in silence. RJ returned to his job, and Luna followed suit. Outside, Paris sparkled in the warm glow of nighttime lights, and somewhere deep within, a piece of both their hearts shouted the same truth. They had loved truly and furiously, and that would always be enough.